All right, this is Heather Longoria, and I am the host of the IAmA New Therapist video series, which I started because I graduated in February of this year and quickly realized that while I got a lot of questions answered in 18 months, I had a lot of unanswered questions too. So today I am interviewing Anais Strickling, who I met a couple weeks ago at the Movement Maestro's Moving with the Maestro class. And we instantly hit it off because number one, we both have naturally curly hair. and we just started talking and realized that we have a lot in common as far as podcasts and everything that we listen to. And Anais has a very interesting career trajectory, which is one of the main reasons I wanted to talk to her today. So Anais, anything else you want to tell people about your background or your history?
Well, without getting too much into what you might ask me, my undergrad, I graduated college in 2000, and I had a Parks and Recreation degree.
Oh, really?
So my initial intention was to do like outdoor leadership, and I wanted to work in the Parks Recreation field, I guess. And very quickly thought, I'm not going to be able to really support myself doing this. Which led to like 10 years, 15 years, maybe working in the restaurant industry, which was good money and flexible. And I got to travel all over the world and kind of be a nomad for a while. And in that time period, I kind of discovered massage therapy and as my first kind of introductory into body work. So yeah, that kind of led me down that path. And then I practiced for a few years and ended up then going into PT school, where I got my doctorate, which is what I'm currently practicing now. And then also now working on creating a health coaching business. So awesome. That's kind of my trajectory, my career.
When you, what motivated you to become a massage therapist? What attracted you to that profession?
Well, when I was in college, I really started my own spiritual journey through meditation and the practice of self-inquiry. And so I kind of already had this pull towards mindfulness and kind of a spiritual practice for myself. And it was moving in the kind of yoga scene and, exploring that for myself. And so I had that call to do something that was in line with that flavor, I guess, of being mindful and being in the present moment and sharing that with other people. And it's also in a place of like, what am I doing with my life? I don't want to wait tables forever. And so that was a school that just opened up in Asheville. It was the Asheville School of Massage and Yoga. And so I was just drawn to its vibe. And thought, okay, this is a good first step for me in terms of moving in that direction.
And what kind of massage was it? What kind of massage therapy?
It was kind of a blend of Swedish and deep tissue, and we learned some Thai massage, and I think there was some Reiki, but mainly Swedish and deep tissue massage.
Okay. And so did you what kind of jobs did you get as a massage therapist? Did you work at a spa, or did you own your own place, or what was that process like?
Both. Yeah.
Okay.
So I never stopped waiting tables. I think because the money was so good. And at the time, so I graduated in 2007. It's funny. I was actually I didn't even remember the year I graduated. I had to go back in my journal and be like, wait, when was that? And kind of looking back, it's like Facebook, social media I wasn't plugged into that really. And I feel like at that time, there wasn't this whole use of social media for growing a business and, Instagram and all this stuff. So, so I stayed waiting because it was a steady income, but I also started my own practice. I rented a little space above a yoga studio with another friend that was also a therapist. And then I worked at a spa, this really beautiful spa called the Secret Garden. So I did both.
And so what did you like about each of those, or what did you like were the upsides and downsides of having your own place and working someplace?
I liked the Secret Garden because I got to learn spa treatments. I did hot stone. I got some more continuing ed in Reiki and like raindrop therapy, which was like the use of essential oils for treating pain. And I worked with an amazing group of other therapists. So, you know, I was fresh out of school and still learning like pressure and, you know, what am I doing? And so it was nice to have other, you know, therapists that had been doing it for a while around me. But what I did not like about the spa was that, you know, 4 or 5 treatments a day is a lot. Like, you got to get your head wrapped around, okay, I'm going to do an hour and a half treatment and then, you know, a deep tissue and then you would come out and they'd be like, oh, we've booked you 2 more people. And so I never was really flexible energetically. That was kind of challenging. I actually just had a reunion with some of my spa girls. So that was fun a couple of days ago to reconnect. But so then I had my private practice, which I liked because I could set my own schedule and I was slowly growing my own, you know, group of customers and clients. And I shared this with you at the course. Looking back, I didn't have the entrepreneur really mindset or drive when I first got out of school. So, you know, they don't really go into teaching you that. And the atmosphere was different in terms of knowing how to really start a business and market. None of that really was coming natural to me at that time. So that was kind of a downside for me, having my own practice. At the time.
Just not quite prepared for it at that time?
Yeah, maybe just not having enough people around me that were successful at the time with it to like ask questions like what you're doing. Yeah.
Right. Well, and when I graduated, I Googled like massage therapy coaches, and it's like I found a bazillion of them, but it's like, who do you work with? You know, they're all just names on the internet at that point, you know?
Totally.
Yeah. So how did you end up, let me take a step back. Did you ever work just solely as a massage therapist, or were you always supplementing your income with
I was always supplementing my income. But I have friends now, 2 actually, that I'm still pretty much in contact with one is a full-time massage therapist and she's booked, not taking any new clients, but she's also a yoga instructor and yoga teacher. So she kind of does both. And then another friend that was in my school is still doing massage but she's also a yoga instructor and, you know, does some other things on the side too.
Yeah.
So it's possible. I just don't know if I stuck with it long enough to, you know, or went all in, looking back.
How long did you do it for?
Maybe 5 years. Yeah. But in that time, so that's kind of when the transition started happening, where I was kind of, that's another downside of the spa. I wasn't a big fan of doing like the wraps and the kind of, you know, those kinds of treatments. So I was really getting into like pain management and wanting to do or help people with chronic pain, or not really chronic pain, but looking at the body, you know, doing massage more for sports medicine and kind of that kind of stuff. So I got involved with this guy named Ralph Stevens. Saw him, you know, and continuing ed stuff, and he had a 100-hour medical massage program. So I did his course and really getting into like learning anatomy, because you learn anatomy in massage school, but it never hurts to continue to dive deeper and, you know, nerd out on the body. So I loved that course. And I loved Janet Travell's The Trigger Point manuals. Are you familiar with those?
These guys? It's what I have my computer resting on right now.
I took those through PT school with me. Like, no, you know, those were the Bible, right? So yeah, definitely had those books, and I like read those for pleasure. Such a nerd, right?
Yeah, you're awesome.
So, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's kind of when I started feeling like, okay, I like this direction of doing, massage for the more medical massage type purpose. And that's kind of when I started considering PT, going into PT school.
So how did you decide to make that leap?
Gosh.
You went back. I mean, it's not like you were 18 and jumped right into PT school. So, and I'm speaking from experience, like looking at making that decision when I was, I don't know, 36 years old. I'm like, I'm too old.
Yeah, that's about the age I was. I was one of the older people in my class. There's 3 of us that were in our late 30s, I had gotten to this place where I was still waiting tables. Massage is hard on your body, and I was doing it as well. And I was feeling like I had to get adjusted, and I was, having to do a lot of care on my own body. It was hard physically on my body. And I was like, I'm going to be totally honest. I was like, I want to make more money. I want to be able to buy a house. I want to feel like I can do what my job solely, like go to work, come home, get paid, not have to worry about starting my own practice. I just really wasn't at the time in the entrepreneurial mindset, and I didn't want to do a spa because I don't think you can really make the kind of money I was wanting to make working in a spa. So that was my drive, was being more financially stable. So I already had my undergrad, so I had to go back and do a year of prerequisites where it took me a year because I did 2 classes a semester while I was working. And then I applied. That was just to apply. So I got on the waiting list, and I was like devastated. I was like number 30 on the waiting list. Is the only school I applied to at Western. And I was like, I'm getting in. This is going to happen. Just like all my energy was going to getting in, and I got in. The other people on the waiting list fell away. And so, that started my very intense, all-encompassing 3-year, after my first year of prereqs, my 3 years totally consumed my life, PT school.
Man, and were you doing massage and doing the restaurant job at that time?
No, I couldn't work. You don't have time to work in PT. I took out loans, so I could just be in school full time. No, and I wasn't working.
Yeah, that would be so tough.
Yeah. I'm a nerd at heart, so I love school and I love to study. But looking back, having known what PT school involves, I don't think I would have done it again.
Yeah? Why do you say that?
Because it's so intense, and I can't really say that. I mean, hindsight's 50-50. I'm glad I'm where I'm at. I'm glad I went to PT school. I'm glad I did it. But it is very intense. So anyone considering it, it's going to take your all-encompassing. It takes your life for a good 3 years. Yeah.
And how long have you been practicing as a PT now?
5 years.
Okay. And how does it compare to like the kind of treatment you were providing as a massage therapist? How's it different with what you do with the PT in the PT world?
Well, it depends on where you're practicing. Okay. If I work in a skilled nursing facility, like work with the geriatric population, and I've only worked in that setting. I did clinicals in other settings, but if I were to work in outpatient, for example, with more orthopedic type patients, or I have my own practice as a PT, I think my skills as a massage therapist would come in handy. I mean, as a PT, you do manual therapy. I mean, as a PT, I learned things that, I couldn't practice as a massage therapist, like joint mobilizations of the spine and really the whole body. And you learn other types of techniques that are manual therapy, but soft tissue is a big piece too of, like we learned in Maestro's class, right? Treating the nervous system. That's a big piece of calming your patient down and creating the relaxation or the buy-in to what you're going to perform with them. But like in my setting, I don't really get to practice much soft tissue. I do if I have certain orthopedic rehab short-term patients, but my setting is very different in terms of we're working with like cardiopulmonary type patients and neurological, stroke, Parkinson's, MS, dementia, so it's functional mobility and making sure they can stand up from a chair and get out of bed and walk, teaching people how to walk again. So it's a lot of different stuff we do besides just manual stuff. But in an outpatient, you're doing more manual therapeutic exercise and stretching and stuff like that. So.
Okay. And so, how come you're looking towards moving into the health coaching pathway?
Well, I have a passion, like I said, for mindfulness and meditation.
Yeah.
I feel like that served me well in terms of being able to be like a chameleon, which you have to be in my setting to establish rapport with all your patients. You kind of have to be fluid. But I also love nutrition and wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And as a clinician in my setting, it's very frustrating because I work with all the lifestyle diseases of obesity and heart disease and diabetes, and I see them at the end of the road, really, when that is like that and about 10 other problems, are what they're dealing with. And in my scope, I don't really do nutrition counseling and, lifestyle modification, which is what these people really need.
Yeah.
So I was getting really frustrated, like, gosh, these things can be reversed or prevented, and I'm not really able to address it. So that's kind of like, I got to a kind of a burned out place, just feeling like my soul was getting sucked dry. And so that's kind of when I had this epiphany in January of like, okay, I didn't even really know what health coaching was, to be honest with you. And I just kind of discovered it and was like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm doing next. But I can help people, not in my setting, but just people in general, and share like that passion that I have for health and wellness.
Yeah. And
help prevent some stuff, right?
Yeah.
Reverse some things.
Exactly. And that's like what got me interested in the whole health and wellness field maybe 8 years ago now. I read Mark Sisson's book, The Primal Diet, and I did his 21-day total body transformation, and it totally transformed me. It was like, because the whole primal lifestyle is just about like moving a lot, walking a lot, not doing like chronic cardio, and eating whole foods, eating a lot of meat and vegetables, and being careful with your sleep, and having a good social circle. And it was like just such basic stuff.
Yes.
But it was like 2 weeks after I started his challenge, I'm like, oh, I don't have anxiety anymore. Whereas before it was like, I was at the point where I was at like a stoplight, and I would like start to get a mini panic attack because I'm like, I feel like I'm going to pass out. I feel like I'm going to pass out. It was like really high level anxiety. And then I realized I had energy in the afternoon. Like I didn't feel like taking a nap at 3:00 every day. And I'm like, all this just from like eating and getting outside and moving my body.
I know. And it's funny, the more I've signed up for this year, it starts in December, of this mastery coaching training. We get a business coach, which I'm super excited about, because now, coincidentally, I'm all about some entrepreneurial. So
you have
funny,
to take that pathway.
The spiral staircases of our lives, right? The timing was not right then. It's so right now. But it's like we got these 11 advanced nutrition protocols where we can help clients with diabetes, and there's a heart disease one, and there's a weight loss, and a brain and mood health, and a thyroid and hormone. Like, the more I'm looking through all of them, you're right. It's these foundational pieces that run through all of them. And it's not rocket science, but I feel like it's creating the behavior changes. It's creating the habits. It's like not trying to do it all at once, but creating these little small steps that you can have wins. And then the next thing you know, you've changed your habits around all of those key pieces.
Yeah. Well, that was something you and I had talked about too, is like the importance of that thought work, because we're both life coach school fans, and I'm breaking down everything into that model.
Yes.
And, I'm doing another program. It's by Rachel Hart, who's one of Brooke Castillo's students. And she did a segment on pain and how you get you have emotional pain and physical pain, and like you can have the physical pain and then you layer that emotional pain on top of it, of the thoughts that you think about your pain. And it was like, it was just another way of like kind of restating the biopsychosocial model, which the movement maestro talked a lot about, but just like the way she phrased it, it was like, oh yeah. And I've been sharing that with a bunch of my patients too, because she has a worksheet, like, what if you're telling yourself about your pain that's actually making your pain worse?
Yes.
Yeah. So does your health coaching program, does it get into a lot of the mindset, like thought kind of work?
It does. The first part was more about behavior change. And so they do go into a little bit of that. But I feel like this next year, well, I know this next year is all about diving into behavior and identity and how to coach people around, you know, really getting a little deeper into habits, you know, not just of behavior, but of habits of thought and mind. Yeah. And it's kind of like my teacher used to talk about, like putting a frog in a hot tub. If you throw the frog into the hot tub, like he's going to jump right back out. You've got to like get him in the tub and turn up the heat slowly so that the critter brain, you know, or the little frog brain is like, okay, this is comfortable. Ooh, this is nice, right? And then the heat starts turning up, and then, you know, the stress starts melting away, or like our identification to the beliefs and identities that we kind of latch onto that keep us from experiencing that inner freedom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I'm super excited. This year is going to be like, I can't wait to dive into all that material.
Well, if you need any practice coaching clients, I'm here for you.
Awesome. I probably will.
Yeah, I feel like that behavior change is like such an integral piece. And even as a massage therapist, you know, it's out of my scope to talk to people really about nutrition much as well. But even just like getting them to change postural habits and like small movement habits and stuff. And it's like getting some training on how to break things. I think this is another Brooke Castillo thing, but she talks about like the bare minimum, like action stuff. Like if you want to go to the gym, day one, you just put your shoes on.
Yeah.
That's all you do. It's like being able to figure out how to break it down to somebody so they are like, they're just gently getting warmed up in the water and don't realize that they're changing like a huge course change of their ship.
And that's one of the little phrases that always comes up in the coaching, my coaching program, is small hinges swing big doors.
Yeah.
So you just keep going. It's like, how can I move the needle 1%? Just one. Like put the shoes on, right? Show up. You do that every day, then you're gonna be like, well, that's easy. I actually put my outfit on, right? Maybe do something. So
there's so much potential there. And it's just, I think it's so cool that you're getting a more holistic view of the body too, because for some reason I see quite a few patients that have chronic pain, and it's, you know, you ask them about their diet and they love sugar or they love gluten, and I'm like, I can keep massaging you, but if you really want like long-term change, is like so much of that stuff is so important to actually for them to feel better in the long run.
Yeah. You know, there's so many really amazing coaching programs that I think would benefit someone who wanted to just stick with massage, but like expand their scope a little bit. Like there's like from that I've discovered through the Health Coach Institute. There's this chick, Andrea Nakayamu, I think is her name. She runs this like functional medicine coaching program that looks amazing. It's like a year, you go through the entire body, you learn how to get to the root cause of all these, you know, conditions from a functional medicine perspective. So that would be amazing addition for a massage therapist, for sure.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you're interested in diving into that nutrition.
Yeah, I'm interested in everything, basically.
I know, me too.
That's a problem.
I love It's like learning and studying. I'm like, let's do all the things.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And then the more you meet like other therapists, other people in the health and wellness field, you learn about all the cool stuff that they know and have learned about. So it's just like, it just keeps like exponentially growing. So
yes.
Good thing we have multiple lifetimes so we can work through all of
Totally.
this stuff.
And we're still young. We got plenty of time to try stuff out, reinvent ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a patient who is 74 and she is in such great shape. And I was treating her today and she got down on the floor to show me an exercise and got back up with like the tall kneel position. And I'm like, I want to be you. It's like, yeah. So
Yes.
if you think about how healthy some people are at 74, we do have a lot of time left.
Oh yeah. I mean, I see people in their 90s that are still walking without a walker and sharp and moving around. And I mean, that's movement. Not exercise, but movement is so key. If you just walk and get up and stretch and squat and just like fluidly move your body on a daily basis, it's so beneficial. That's what keeps us limber. I think that's another piece with the health coaching I'm really loving is like, I feel like exercise has got a bad rap, just like diets have a bad feeling to them. Like people equate the two together. And if we can just kind of get the exercise mentality, like I've got to go to the gym and do 2 hours a day to lose weight or be quote healthy. No, it's like, what did you like to do as a kid? What kind of movements made you happy? And like go out and do those.
Yeah.
So,
And that, I like that part of the movement research too. At the end when Jen Pop, is that what she goes by on Instagram? When we did the playing stuff, because it was like for the people who weren't there, she had 4 people play Foursquare, and it was like just to see the joy on everybody's face, and they're like getting into it and squatting and moving, and it's like moving your body in ways you probably haven't moved since you're like 12 years old.
Exactly.
So,
yeah,
movement can be fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, we are at the top of our half an hour. So is there anything else that if somebody is considering, let's say somebody like our age in their 30s, they're thinking about making a career change, they're looking at massage therapy, they're looking at PT school, they're looking at health coaching, any advice you would give somebody in that situation?
That's really tough.
Yeah.
Because, it really, I think it boils down to a couple things. And I'm kind of speaking from like the practical purpose, the practical aspect. Massage school is a lower financial investment, and it's an amazing career pathway that can be like an amazing starting point to having a career in body work, because you can make massage however you want it to be. It's like the maestra says for PTs that she kind of coaches, you get your degree, but you can make it however you want it to be. So if you want it to be spa treatments and more that kind of relaxing outlet, amazing directions you can go. If you want to go more towards like the PT side without going to PT school, there's so many amazing courses now that you can take as a massage therapist and still create a really thriving business. So, it depends on that. Then that's one aspect. If you're, PT school is a much bigger investment financially and time wise, but you come out and you do have a stable job. Although I will say the healthcare industry, the healthcare field is really changing, and, our jobs aren't necessarily as, guaranteed as I feel like they used to be with all the changes that are going on with Medicare and all of that. So, then do you have an entrepreneurial spirit? Do you feel like you want to create something for yourself, or do you want to work for someone else? I think you can do both as a PT and as a massage therapist. So I think it's kind of like boils down to how much time are you wanting to invest, how much money, and what kind of field are you working in? Because unless you create your own business as a PT, you're going to be working in very different settings than you would be as a massage therapist. So you kind of have to take all of that into consideration of what direction you're wanting to be going in.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah, because I think you can make just as much money as a PT as you can make as much as a massage therapist if you're good and you get training and you really know the body, know your anatomy. That's the big piece, I think, as a massage therapist. From a PT standpoint, looking back, that's key, because if you know where all the muscles are and you know how the body operates and moves, you can help people get out of pain. You can help them, release tension, I think, in a much more effective way. So if you know your anatomy, keep those flashcards.
No kidding. Yeah, the things start to get pretty fuzzy after a while. Like some of those little muscles that you do, it's like, I know where all the quads are, but some of those, like, I know the deep six, but can I name all the deep six? Right. Yeah, that stuff starts to get fuzzy after a while. And that was only February, but I have to start doing my bedtime reading, so brush up on the Travail.
Yes. Pour a cup of tea and dive in.
Yeah, they're like, every time you open it up, there's something super fascinating in here. One of my research patients had trigger points. She just kept refacilitating in her upper trapezius. And so I opened this up and it was like, there's 10 pages about trigger points in the upper trapezius refacilitating. I'm like, she covered that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Anais, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me tonight. I really appreciate it. And I think that this conversation will really help people that are trying to figure out kind of what direction they want to take and the pluses and minuses of the different career options that are out there.
Yeah, you're welcome. I enjoyed it. And I think any of these career paths, we're really serving at the bottom line, right? We're showing up and giving of ourselves to bring love and a healing touch to people. So either direction, you're still coming from a place of service, which I think is great.
It's all 50-50, right?
That's right.
All right. Well, have a great night and we'll talk soon.
Okay. Good to see you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye, Anais.